tech entrepreneur and CEO Elon Musk has issued a stark warning about the urgent need to cut federal expenses, arguing that unchecked government spending could lead to national bankruptcy. Speaking in a recent discussion with President Donald Trump, Musk criticized the growing power of the federal bureaucracy, asserting that it threatens democratic governance by overriding elected representatives.
So, at a high level, if you say what is the goal of Doge, and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore democracy. That's what he's saying. Seem like, well, are we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop FX, we'd have to. If you sorry, so tell you gravitas can be difficult sometimes. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, or if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people. That's the whole point of a democracy. And if you looked at this, if you asked the founders today and said, what do you think of the way things have turned out? Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want, and it does not match the will of the people. So it's just something we've got to fix. And we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit, and if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense, but if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country. So what I really want to say is, like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
If the bureaucracy is in charge, then what meaning does democracy actually have? Musk asked. He described the current system as a rule of the bureaucrat, arguing that unelected officials wield disproportionate influence, sidelining the will of the people and their elected leaders. Musk called for a restructuring of government operations to ensure that decision-making power remains in the hands of those who are directly accountable to voters. Musk's comments come amid mounting concerns over the national debt, which has surpassed $34 trillion. He pointed out that annual interest payments on the debt now exceed the entire U.S. Defense Department budget, a situation he called astounding and unsustainable. It's not optional for us to reduce federal expenses, it's essential, Musk stated. If we don't do something about this deficit, the country is going bankrupt. As part of his efforts to address government inefficiency, Musk has led initiatives through the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, a policy think tank he recently launched. His proposals include streamlining federal agencies, eliminating redundant departments, and implementing cost-cutting measures across government operations. Reports indicate that DOGE has recommended large-scale reductions in federal staffing, arguing that excessive government employment is a key driver of wasteful spending. Musk has also criticized what he calls the fourth unconstitutional branch of government, referring to unelected bureaucrats who, in his view, exert more power than elected officials. The public's elected representatives, the President, the House, and the Senate, should decide what happens, not a large, autonomous federal bureaucracy, he said. The response to Musk's remarks has been deeply polarized. Supporters praise his willingness to challenge entrenched government inefficiencies and advocate for fiscal responsibility. Musk is saying what many Americans have felt for years, that the government is too big, too wasteful, and too detached from the people, said financial analyst Mark Reynolds. Critics, however, warn that Musk's approach risks undermining essential government services and harming federal employees. You can't simply slash budgets without consequences, said policy expert Linda Carter. Many of these agencies provide critical services, from infrastructure to healthcare. The challenge is finding the balance between efficiency and functionality. Despite the controversy, Musk's remarks have reignited national conversations about the size and role of the federal government. His call for a more accountable, less bureaucratic system echoes long-standing debates over the extent of government influence and fiscal responsibility. Whether his proposals will translate into policy changes remains uncertain, but his influence in shaping the discourse is undeniable.